Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology for the full moon that's occurring on September 20th, 2021. Before we get into the reading, I just want to mention that this is, of course, a general reading. If you're interested in a personalized reading, please book some time with me. My information is in the description box below. All right, so we're going to be taking a look at the energies for 16-7 and 22, not 22, but 20 and 2. Those are the energies that are being most illuminated for this full moon. And so that's what we're going to take a deeper dive into. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Before I fully get into it, though, I do want to mention this is going to be an intense full moon. This is going to bring up some things or shed light on some things that we might not have wanted to see. Is going to bring about some of our deepest fears, some of the stories that we tell ourselves that, isn't exactly true. And it's going to really force us to move beyond those illusions. And sometimes that can be incredibly uncomfortable. That can feel intense. But where it's taking us is to an awareness through an awakening, right? And it's that awareness that will allow us to create a story or an environment that's much more fitting for where we are in our path at this time. So a little bit of intensity coming up around this full moon. So first of all, let's look at the 16-7 energy. This is a magnetic energy. So during this illumination, you may find, and in the weeks that follow, you may find that you're more intensely drawn towards others. And the others are more drawn towards you. So not only in a romantic sense, but in order to collaborate with others, to share your gifts, your wisdom, or create new partnerships of some sort. This is a realization that, you can do things on your own, but it's through collaboration and sharing of our resources that the energy multiplies, and what we're able to create becomes that much bigger and grows exponentially. So, for example, let's say that you want to make a film. You could certainly buy all the equipment, do all the acting and the editing and the post-production yourself. You could also promote it and then show it, throw it up on YouTube and show it yourself. And you might get substantial views and your reach might be great. However, imagine if you had a team of people sharing their talents and their gifts on the project, where each is contributing their own strengths, including marketing, promotion. Suddenly, the force and energy behind the project multiplies and the reach grows exponentially. When multiple people put their energy behind something, it can't help but move in the intended direction. So the point being, this is a beautiful creative time to call in the people who share your vision and be open to them when they arrive. So this is also a time for clear insights through dreams especially, but also in waking hours. Try not to overlook or brush something off that tugs at you. If it comes in, try to honor it and explore it. It could be that this is the seed for a truly bountiful harvest in the months to follow. So this includes with relationships. If someone keeps coming into your awareness or you feel an undeniable energetic connection towards someone, explore that further. They could be the key player in an upcoming chapter for you. So this 16-7 energy is going to ask us to examine our current life and attitudes. Do we like what we see? If not, how can we go about changing that? It is our story after all, right? We hold the pen. And so instead of giving that pen to somebody else to write, we need to hold on to it and do that ourselves. So this can be a period where people with emotional discontent or material, physical, obsession may see outward manifestations of these energies, and sudden material and or physical upsets can occur during this time. So your subconscious is now urging you through these calamities to awaken to the truth that is you, the real you, and awaken to your inner spiritual self to clearly see beyond the illusions surrounding the physical world. Sometimes it's only when we put, when we're put under like extreme pressure that we finally receive that aha moment, that the lightning bolt of realization comes in of how we've been contributing towards our own suffering, right? So it's through that awareness that we can choose to do things differently and a shift in perspective takes place. So eventually, through the power of the 7 energy, because remember this is 16-7 energy, 16 is strongly influencing that 7 energy, but through the power of the 7, we're able to conceive that any material losses in this lifetime are meaningless as we move towards our own evolution in becoming one with the oneness while still walking the earth. You see what I'm saying? There's power to this. There's an incredible power behind this, all pushing you towards self-realization, self-awakening, to the powerful being that you are and the power that you have over your story. So the lessons of the 16-7, again, are very powerful. And when embraced, it often leads to some level of awakening. If there was one word that I could use to describe 16-7 energy, it would be awakening. This is a time for illumination and awakening. The power for loss is great under this energy, but so is the potential for great rewards. And those rewards are yours as long as you don't become obsessed with the ownership, which includes relationships, right? Like a lot of times people will get into relationships and we claim ownership over that other person, right? We look at like marriage or, going steady or calling each other boyfriend, girlfriend. Suddenly there becomes this energy of ownership and we feel like we are sort of entitled to treat that person however we choose to treat them, to expect whatever we want to expect from this person, to start to see them in the light of our expectations as opposed to who they truly are and where they're at on their own journey. And so this very strongly relates to relationships because, again, when we become obsessed with the ownership, that's when we start to see the potential for great loss, right? Because the universe is going to try to show us that we are whole without whatever it is we're trying to own, whatever it is we're trying to manipulate and control. So it's really important that, again, under this energy is going to illuminate for us where it is that we still have this obsession, where it is that we still try to overly control, where it is that we, feel that we have some kind of ownership over something. Because the only thing that we truly have ownership over is ourselves and our own actions, right? So in tarot, 16-7 energy would be represented by the Tower. So this can be an intense period of illumination. So think of a lightning bolt of awareness, right? That lightning bolt coming in, striking, and just splitting things wide open so that you can no longer sort of look away. However, that awareness needs to reach us in some way, right? So that's why it's like that lightning bolt needs to come in to get through to us. That tower energy, that tower moment needs to come in so that we, again, can no longer kind of look away or sweep whatever this is under the carpet or try to ignore whatever this is. Again, awareness and awakening. Once we have this awareness, we can't make excuses any longer for doing things the way we've sort of, quote unquote, always done them, because now there is a better way, right? Like we might not know what that better way is exactly, but we have the awareness now that the way that we were doing it or the way that we were approaching it or looking at it was not working. And so now failing to honor this newfound awareness would be intentionally working against ourselves. So our own truth is trying, to come through basically. And so, we can't try to cling to something that isn't meant for us. That's just going to create tension. That's going to create friction. That's going to lead to personal destruction over time. So like the saying goes, when you know better, do better. And you inevitably shift the energy and then reap the rewards for that shift. Okay. Your external circumstances begin to mimic that internal shift if you honor it. So intense energies coming up around the 16-7 illumination. But they're meant to, right? There's a reason for it. And now this, again, it's a general reading. So if there's nothing that really needs to be illuminated in your life at this time around these actions, this situation, these situations, whatever, if there's really nothing that needs to be illuminated, then you're not going to really feel this energy very strongly. And instead, you may be in a place where you can sort of hold space for somebody else who's going through it. You see what I'm saying? So the energy will affect everyone in some way, but it may not affect you as intensely as it might someone who has some realizations to be made. And in all honesty, it's like all throughout life, we're learning more about ourselves. We're learning how we can do things better for ourselves, how we can follow our own truth more authentically and trust ourselves more profoundly. And so that's what these energies allow for. That's what these tower moments allow for, is to open us up to ourselves, to bring us back to ourselves, so that again, we can see how we've been sort of self-sabotaging ourselves or doing something in a way that's keeping us stuck. And so these energies come in to say, okay, we need a shift in direction, and only you have the power to do that. And so for yourself, you see what I'm saying? So very, very powerful energy, but nothing to fear. It's absolutely here to work with us and work for us. It can feel incredibly uncomfortable because, again, it's trying to shift us out of a way of doing something that isn't working. And usually that way of doing it, even if it's not working, was in some sense comfortable for us. And so it's hard to adjust to change. It's hard to be adaptable. It's hard to want to shift out of that known into the unknown. But it's kind of like in these moments, we can't kind of turn away from it. We become aware of it so strongly that we have to take some form of action. And if we don't, we have free will. We can always say yes or no. But if we don't, it just starts to become even more increasingly uncomfortable, to the point where I think it's Eckhart Tolle always says, like, when the suffering becomes great enough, you will be put into action. You will do something to alleviate that suffering. And so this kind of energy is like that. It's like it really brings it into the awareness, to where going against that awareness becomes so incredibly uncomfortable and challenging that you eventually see the truth within yourself and honor that awareness. Okay. So then we move on to this 22 energy. This is just as intense. This is going to be, like I said, this is going to be a full-on full moon. There's a lot being illuminated here. There's a lot to work with. But again, this is serving us. This is not punitive. This is not vindictive energy. This is serving us to our highest potential, our highest good, and serving our higher consciousness. So 22 energy. This energy, you may find that many decisions need to be made at this time, and you'll need to make those decisions from the space of the observer rather than as the biased participant. So using reason, intuition, knowledge, wisdom, these will all serve you well when being decisive at this time. The world is full of illusions, right? And rarely do we ever have the full story, no matter how hard we try to. This will be a time when being easily influenced by the external noise will only lead you down a path that you never intended to go down. So this is a time for trusting yourself, trusting the universe when it comes to your next steps, your personal truth, and where you choose to use your power of intention is what will take you down the right path for you in this moment. So it's through that decisive action, sort of being driven by the truth of self, that we truly step into the power of our co-creative birthright. You see what I'm saying? Again, taking that pen back and knowing that nobody else writes your story but you, and you are in co-creation of that story with the universe, right? With the divine, with the, whoever it is that you look to, whatever higher power you go towards. But this is you stepping into your truth, stepping into that co-creative birthright. So this is really, really powerful energy. Again, if you choose to, because just because the energy is there and knocking at the door doesn't mean you have to say yes to it. But it's going to be coming in pretty strongly. It's going to be really hard to ignore it. So similar to the 16 energy, 20 energy has the power to make or break a situation. Fears and change will be brought to the surface now. They're going to be brought into the spotlight, right, to be faced and dealt with. This is a time for adaptability and renewal. The more decisive that you can be, and the more you can follow your own inner knowing against all odds, the more you will develop yourself and overcome the difficulties in life. So this energy may be asking you to shed an old skin, like the lizard would, right? Like a lizard will shed its skin every now and then. And there's a level of regeneration and renewal. And so what you're being asked to do is to shed that layer of skin that's dead, that's no longer serving you, and no longer try to cling to it, right? It'd be like if the lizard shed its skin and then stepped back into that skin because it didn't feel like it was ready to release it. It's like that just doesn't happen in nature. They shed the skin and they move on, and then the regeneration occurs. So this is a time for no longer clinging to what no longer fits. So I just finished the October forecasts for 2021 for all Life Path members. I haven't uploaded them yet, but they're finished and in the process, probably next week before they're uploaded. But I use the example in some of those readings of the spider and the spider web. It's the same kind of scenario. The spider will create the web, right? Will create its own environment, will create what it needs to attract its sustenance, right? To attract its food. And once that work of art, once that environment has been created by the spider, that's where it hangs out. That's where it lives. That's what it knows. That's what that's its stomping grounds for a period of time, right? But anything can destroy that web, right? Whether somebody walking through it, right? It can just disintegrate on its own. And then the spider is forced to create a new story, create a new web, create a new environment, one that works, right? Because the one that obviously has been broken or no longer, or disintegrates, obviously is no longer a match, is no longer doing what it needs to do. It's not providing for the spider the way that it needs to provide to. So the spider needs to create a new web, one that works. And so it's almost like with these energies, the old web is being disintegrated, and we're being asked to start the process of creating the next web, creating the new web, one that better serves, right? And we are the only ones that can do that. Like the spider is the only one that can create its own web, and it's going to be very unique to that spider. Just like whatever it is, whatever web we are creating is going to be unique for us. And that will be the environment that we move through, is that web that we create, right? There will be outside influences, as there always are, but ultimately we are the creator of that web. And so I feel like, again, these energies are forcing you to look at your web, see where it's falling apart, where it's coming up, where it's becoming detached, where it no longer serves you, where it's disintegrating. Maybe it's already been disintegrated and now you're just kind of like standing there because you don't know what to do next. But ultimately, you're the only one that can start the process of creating the new web. So, okay. So 22 energy can create sudden events that require us to make a decision that could prove to be sort of a turning point within our lives, right? So again, it's kind of like if that web is gone, that's a turning point. We need to create a new web. We need to create a new story. We need to create a new environment. We need to create something from the unknown, something known from the unknown. So this is going to be a period of tremendous growth, and being idle or indecisive during this time can create feelings of restlessness or uneasiness. You think about the spider whose web has been disintegrated or broken. If the spider just stands idle, it's not going to eat, right? Like it's not going to attract the food. It's not going to be able to sort of flourish and thrive and live. And so it can't be idle. It can't be, in avoidance. It needs to be decisive. Okay, I need to make a new web. Here we go, right? So this is not a time for resistance, right? If we resist the change and remain sort of idle, that's where we're going to have a lot of challenges. So we need to be adaptable and open at this time. This is going to be a very important time to trust yourself and your capabilities. You are the one who can create your own web. If somebody else does it for you, then you are trying to step into somebody else's experience. You see what I'm saying? And you're not meant to do that. You're meant to create your own experience and then use the resources and the influence from other people as you see fit to incorporate into your own story. So trust yourself and your capabilities at this time. Be decisive, follow your inner knowing, use your ego to help you with the logistics, but follow that inner compass. You have everything that you need to take the reins here, right? And to be successful in your pursuits. But you can't be idle. And, this is going to be a time where, again, we're being pushed beyond the comfort zone. We're being pushed beyond the known, to step into the unknown, to create something greater, to create something much more aligned. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that it's a powerful, transformative, insightful, and illuminating full moon for you all. I'm sure it will be. So thank you so much for listening. Take care, everyone. I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.